Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the royals. We end with our weekly feature, The Comments of the Week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 143. Hi, I'm Katie. It sounded stupid. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
I'm Chandra, I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
I just didn't like how I was delivering that at first. I was like, I better redo that. It screwed us all up. So this is our last episode of 2022. We're going to be off for 2 weeks, and then we're back on January 7th. And I'm glad we're recording after we got to see Volume 2 of Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, I'm glad about that too. I think we should kind of like play it by ear as to whether or not we're going to start the podcast next year, like bright and early.
On January 7th, like take another week off.
Yeah, we might have to take another week off. I don't know.
That'd be fine with me. It adds another half work day to my week. So whenever we can skip, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I haven't even looked to see when the Oscar nominations come out. And like,
Ugh.
I still haven't seen so many movies.
Same.
So I feel like, what are we going to have to really talk about? But maybe I'll see some movies over the holidays.
Yeah, we could take another week off. It's fine with me. So whatever. We'll be off for a while. We'll catch up when we catch up.
And like Harry's book Spare doesn't come out until the 10th. And we'll need a second to like actually read the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm probably going to listen to the book on tape so I could hear his cute voice.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, he's going to read it.
Yeah.
The audio.
I bought myself a Kindle Paperwhite when they were on sale for Black Friday, and I might use that and do like the free Audible trial so I can listen to both.
Do you listen to audiobooks while you're walking?
No.
Or hiking?
No. As I got the dog now, the dog like takes precedent over everything. I listen to him in the car, basically.
Oh, I listen to music when I'm walking.
Well, I could listen to it while I'm cooking and stuff like that. Like I listen to podcasts while I'm cooking or baking, so I'll probably do that.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, let's talk about the royals.
Oh, did you want to mention your show that you
My
liked?
show? Yeah, I like the show. So I've been watching, I've only seen the first 2 episodes of a show called Acapulco on Apple Plus. It's super cute. It's in both Spanish and English, but it's subtitled. And it's about a guy who works at a resort in the 80s, and I really like it. It's a comedy. It's well worth watching. I can't believe it's not getting more buzz because it's just so funny and cute.
It sounds cute.
Yeah, and it doesn't really have anybody you know on it, like maybe some character actors you've seen before, but it's well worth watching.
I'm looking forward to the second Knives Out movie.
Oh,
Everyone's saying
yeah.
it's so good. I can't wait for it to come out.
I was about to watch it, and I was like making a plan to watch it, and we were looking it up, and it wasn't on. I was like, it's not out yet, damn it. Because it's been getting all that good buzz.
But Emily in Paris is coming out next week, I think.
Is that the 3rd season or the 2nd?
The 3rd season.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to binge watch that like Wednesday style. Because I loved Wednesday.
I liked Wednesday too. I watched that as well. I thought that was really cute.
And I loved the cliffhanger for season 2, Emily in Paris. I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do with that like cliffhanger storyline.
Okay.
No spoilers.
All right. I haven't watched it. I don't know if I will.
It's not like some big scandal. It's like, is she going to stay in Paris? And obviously she is.
Because that's well, it's got to continue.
It's not Emily in Omaha.
Yeah, right? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, there'll be some good stuff to watch over the break. That'll be fun. And my mom is really into TV, so hopefully I'll watch some good shows with her.
That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of good TV.
We just finished the Volume 2 of Harry and Meghan. So the first half we talked about last week, and that was mostly about their love story. And like we got some responses from the British press for that. And the main one that I thought was really telling and obnoxious was about how much William hates Meghan for taking Harry away from him, which is what he's been saying all along. But, they got to hit us over the head with it.
As the years go on, William's hatred for Meghan, specifically hatred for Meghan for taking Harry away it's becoming grosser. It's becoming more disgusting.
Pathological.
Yeah, that he's so immature that he still has that kind of mindset of, she took him away from me.
He was supposed to be there for me as my scapegoat, and then they made Meghan their scapegoat, which is what they talked about in these episodes.
Yep.
I wanted to play this clip from the trailer. This started out the firestorm before the series came out because nobody could see this series before it came out. They didn't give out press advance copies. So here's that clip.
To see this institutional gaslighting.
I wasn't being thrown to the wolves, I was being fed to the wolves.
They were actively recruiting people to disseminate disinformation.
They were happy to lie to protect my brother. They were never willing to tell the truth to protect us.
To me, this was the real takeaway from the second half of the series, which was that they were getting briefed against.
Yeah, which we've always known.
Yeah, we've known that.
And which the royal reporters, up until this very week, the royal reporters were always quite open about. They would say in television interviews, in documentaries, they would say, yeah, we were getting briefed from Kensington Palace. We were getting briefed from Clarence House. There are all of these people in William and Kate's orbit who were telling us that Meghan was doing this, Harry was doing that. And now all of a sudden, of course, we never got any of those leaks. That's what they're saying now. Harry and Meghan need to prove that we got briefed from the palace. Well, if you didn't get briefed from the palace, why are you saying royal sources told us this?
Yeah, well, you're making it up.
Yep.
And either way, they look bad, but of course it's from the palace. We saw that in The Princes and the Press. But because it wasn't Harry and Meghan telling us, and because it was limited to the UK, we only saw it because the reader sent it to us, it didn't have the same impact as the Harry and Meghan series, of course.
Yeah, and what I found interesting was the quote from Harry about they would lie to protect William, they wouldn't tell the truth to protect us. But he was saying that in reference to something very specific and a very specific breaking point for him, which was at the Sandringham Summit in January 2020. They waited to hold the summit until Meghan had left to go back to Vancouver.
Yes.
It was like a very conscious choice that Charles and William were trying to get Harry alone.
Yeah, and you covered that. We'll link that in the post
Right.
for this episode. This is episode 143.
I mean, this is Harry's own words, that William was screaming at him and shouting at him, and Charles was like being delusional about like, this is what you said. And the Queen was like just kind of taking it all in, like her heirs are fucking crazy.
Or like how she probably does everything. I mean, she was in her 90s at that point. She's probably like, whatever,
Well, I mean, yeah, she apparently was an ostrich about everything.
Yeah.
Like dramatic or melodramatic. So Harry said the thing about like they would lie to protect William, specifically about a story that came out in the middle of the Sandringham Summit, which was that William basically bullied Harry out of the country. And we were told at the time, William and Harry issued a joint statement saying, of course, this isn't true. And Harry said, I never signed off on that statement. And they issued the statement in my name and in William's name. Of course, William approved it because, his staff wrote it.
Yes.
They lied. And he said that was the breaking point for him. And that's when he knew that they just needed to get the hell out of there and not even try to be half in.
Yeah, he said there was no other option at that point. I'm looking at
and there wasn't.
Yeah.
And I like that they really did try to like figure out a half-in situation, even when it was clear that William didn't want that, Charles didn't want that. And I guess the Queen just went along with Charles and William. I think the Queen probably would have let them do something like that.
If the others would have gone along with it too.
Yeah. And Harry, like, being very specific about how there were 5 options on the table, and he tried to pick the middle option, which I assume was half in.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, no, you can't have that. It's just ridiculous. Like, the levels of bullshit and bureaucracy for this kind of family decision, it's mind-numbing. It's especially mind-numbing when you have 2 heirs on a power trip, Charles and William.
Yeah. I'm looking at the quotes that Harry gave, and he said it never needed to be this way. We talked about this over and over again, sitting up late in the kitchen after these late night engagements. We would have carried on doing this for the rest of our lives. They would have worked for the crown. They would have worked as much as they were able, but they were a threat because they were overshadowing other members of the royal family, and that was clear in the documentary as well.
And one thing Harry and Meghan have always made clear, and they were doing this in real time, which is that it was never their choice to go completely out of the system.
Yeah, and they really tried, and they worked hard. And Meghan especially showed how sad she was over the fact that it didn't work out.
And they're making fun of her for that, for being sad that she left and that she really tried hard, and they still wouldn't accept her.
Why would they make fun of her for that? Did they not hear? One thing that got me about the documentary was she earnestly expected that people would listen to her Oprah interview and hear that she was suicidal and understand that they should back off. She really thought that would...
Yeah.
Because she truly was. You could tell by the way she told it, by how worried her friends were about her and how they tried to intervene on her behalf, especially with the press, and that kind of blew back in their faces what Abigail Spencer was saying about the People magazine interviews they did.
Yeah, Meghan thought that would be the headline, the big headline, which was that she was suicidal and that they didn't get her help. Instead, the headline was, Harry and Meghan accuse royals of being racist. And they've been running that argument that
ever since,
that headline.
How mean are they to accuse them of being racist? It's so hurtful to them. Meanwhile, they were so hurtful to her, she didn't want to be on this earth. And, she talked about that again, and they're going to ignore it again.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised by the lack of a larger calling out of the racism. I mean, yes, they did talk about the stuff with the Commonwealth. I thought the photos and videos of the Sussexes and William and Kate on their Caribbean flop tours, that was great.
Yeah.
And pointing out that Meghan is the way that we move forward. Meghan is the way that we modernize and we become an institution that can survive the 21st century.
They didn't get into who the royal racist was. They just showed that in the context of the Oprah interview. They didn't get into the Meghan made Kate cry thing. They didn't get into the Meghan was a bully.
Yeah, Kate was barely mentioned.
They didn't get into the Meghan was a bully. They talked about that a little bit.
As a story that broke right before the Oprah interview came out. And everyone knows that Kensington Palace leaked that.
Yeah. And it's like Tyler Perry was saying about the Oprah interview, they went easy. Meghan is so classy. And we've been talking about this for a while. They also went easy in this docuseries.
Yeah.
They could have gone hard. They didn't. They talked about their own experience, but they'll still be vilified for it.
I appreciated the part where the story comes out about Jason Knopf, helping the mail and giving evidence to the mails to help with the mail in their appeal against the summary judgment in Meghan's lawsuit.
Yes.
And Meghan kind of goes that's your brother.
Yeah. They didn't say what William texted Harry.
No, they didn't. But she was that's your brother. That's your brother doing that. And she just kind of waved her hands you deal with your family.
Yeah.
I've washed my hands of this bullshit. And I do think that she feels that way at this point. It's that's my husband's family. I don't have anything to do with them. Especially now that Philip and the Queen are dead. She's fuck these people. That's my husband's family. That's your brother.
Yeah.
But yeah, she would have loved to have been accepted by them. And she tried really hard to be accepted by them. And they treated her like trash.
I would have liked to hear more dirt on Will and Kate.
Me too.
Right? But they were just they don't bother us anymore. And then the end, they just focused on how fabulous their life is now and how things are better. And there was that time, the beginning of this last episode, where they talked about how they had 3 weeks to find security. And then you covered Tyler Perry saying that he saw in Meghan the abuse that his mom suffered, the crazy making they were doing to her. And that was really moving and affecting, just seeing how they escaped and how close to the wire it was for them. Before COVID, they would have been stuck and vulnerable.
Yeah, extremely vulnerable. If Tyler hadn't stepped in, I don't know what they would have done. And I'm not sure they know what they would have done.
No.
I was very moved by everything he said about...
He's a great person.
That the royal family were batterers. It wasn't just about, like heaping abuse on Meghan and Harry through the press. It was cutting off their security, cutting off their finances, doing everything that an abusive husband would do when his wife left him. And like no one has said something that was commented on at the time in like 2020, right after Meghan and Harry left, which is that the British media acted like Meghan was a runaway slave.
Ooh.
That was the racial element to it. Yeah. They acted like she was theirs, not just like theirs to abuse, but like they owned her and that she ran away.
Yeah, the ownership of Harry's family and his wife and kids.
Yeah, but the racialized language around their exit, they didn't even get into that.
And Harry said, so we had 6 weeks in Canada before anybody knew where we were. We had 6 weeks at Tyler Perry's house before anybody knew where we were.
Okay, am I misremembering this? Because I feel like we knew that they were in LA a lot faster than 6 weeks.
I'm just saying that's what Harry said in the documentary.
Yeah, I know. But I'm like, I was trying to go through my memory and I'm like, I'm so tired. I watched like 3 hours all this morning.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to like look back at the timeline because I think he's fudging the timeline a little bit. You know what I remember? Mm-hmm. I remembered that right after Charles tested positive for COVID, we found out that Harry and Meghan had moved to LA. And I always thought those two things were connected, that Harry had called his father when his dad had COVID. And like, maybe Harry told his dad, we're in LA now. And like Charles leaked it. That's what I always thought.
I'm going to look on our site.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
March 25th was when he was in isolation in Scotland.
And we found out in April.
And you said, it's weird how Dan Wooten at The Sun got another exclusive on the Sussexes, and that was March 27th. So March 25th, you reported that Charles tested positive for COVID, and then March 27th was when we heard that the Sussexes moved to LA.
Yeah, so I am right. It didn't take 6 weeks for us to find out that the Sussexes were in LA. We found out very quickly after Charles was COVID positive. So my theory and a lot of people's theory was right, that it probably came from Charles's office.
Because that's what Tyler Perry was saying that they were doing. They were acting like batterers.
Yeah.
They were taking away their security and their money and leaving them vulnerable. And I'll link those two stories in this post. Yeah, so it's really sobering seeing everything laid out in black and white like this. I've seen everything laid out so well and convincingly. I mean, and this is literally our job. We follow this, for hours every weekday. We've followed them for years since they started dating. And just having it all laid out with all the details it's excellent. I think it'll bring their story to a lot more people.
Yeah, and I don't think that the docuseries is for us.
Yeah, we were talking about it. Yeah.
It isn't. A lot of this is very familiar to people who have been following their story and people who've read Finding Freedom, especially like the first half of the series is very familiar to Finding Freedom readers.
Yes.
But yeah, like everything from the exit on is a lot of new information and like them trying to understand what was happening to them post-exit.
So we knew that they had their security removed and that their location was leaked, but the wider public didn't know. And I didn't really think that they were going to be as open about it as they were.
We knew that their security was being pulled in real time because the Daily Mail was reporting it in real time. That their security was being pulled. Like, the British media was gleeful about it in March of 2020.
They were. And then you remember all the crap about, and they didn't even get in this documentary, like, oh, Canada's going to have to pay for them, and they're going to be so expensive to Canada. And I'm sure that was another storyline that the royals were trying to push about them.
Mm-hmm. And then when it was confirmed that they came to California, Donald Trump even made a statement about how they weren't going to pay for security for Harry and Meghan. And like the Sussexes, I seem to remember that they had to issue a statement saying like, we never asked.
And he called her a nasty woman or something.
Yeah.
He's what a piece of shit. I'm glad they didn't
vile
give him
abuser.
Any air. Yeah, he's a horrible person. Yeah, so I'm glad they didn't put that part in. But there's a lot of tangents they could have gone on that we know about that they didn't. And they stuck to the story and what happened to them. They didn't even touch William's affair.
No.
Like, it was easy to assume that the trailer was referring to that, but they were referring to the lie of the statement that they issued about Sandringham.
Yeah. That was as dirty as it got, was the stuff that they put in the trailer. Like, that, they were pushing stories about Meghan and her father when they were trying to hide other royals.
Yeah, they just said it was a tit for tat and that Charles did it and now William's doing it. They traded stories between the offices.
And they didn't even get into the fact that they were doing that to Meghan about Prince Andrew as well, because they were trying to cover up all of the Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein stuff that was breaking all over the place in 2019.
And it would have been perfectly within their rights to do that. Everybody knows that story,
I always think that Harry and Meghan hold their fire on Andrew because Harry is so close to Eugenie and Beatrice.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, he doesn't want to hurt them through their father.
And Eugenie is in the docuseries a few times. It's real cute.
Yeah, when they went to the Super Bowl and stuff.
And Eugenie playing with Archie on the beach. That was adorable.
And I'm glad Meghan reunited with her niece.
She seems like a sweetheart,
She
Ashley.
does. Yeah, she does.
Oh, here's something I wanted to ask you. And okay. I'm not trying to be shady at all. So, like, Abigail Spencer's in it a lot.
Oh, her best friend is not in it.
Yeah.
The one that married the conservative
Jessica
PMs.
Mulroney.
Jessica Mulroney is not in it at all. She cut that bitch out when she showed her ass because she was racist. Probably, yeah.
Because I wonder. I think that Jessica and Meghan are still friends, but I also think that Meghan asked her not to appear in the series.
I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting because if somebody is racist, I don't deal with them anymore. And I would think Meghan be the same. But she keeps up with her friends better than I do.
Jessica claimed at the time that she was still friends with Meghan. Like, even in the aftermath of the Sasha Exeter stuff.
Okay.
Now, Meghan never said anything, but Jessica always claimed that they were still friends and that they were still in contact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I think that, like, Meghan would stay in contact and then just, like, kind of not ask Jessica to, like, say anything in the docuseries? Yeah, 100%.
Just not tell her about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably what she did. And then Omid Scobie wasn't in it at all. They didn't mention Finding Freedom. And do you think they did Finding Freedom like they did the People interview? Like she told her friends, yeah, you can talk to him, but she didn't really get too involved in it? Or?
Well, I always have my theories about Finding Freedom and that People cover. Like, I believe Abigail Spencer
orchestrated it, yeah.
Yeah, she said very clearly that she orchestrated it, that she's friends with the People editor. I believe all that. Now, I have a very specific theory about the mention of Meghan's letter to her father. Because she sent that in the summer of 2018, and he didn't leak it until after the People cover story, because the cover story mentioned the letter.
Oh, I remember that now. Yeah.
So I think Meghan did expect that he would leak it, and that's why there was a mention of the letter.
Okay.
I've always believed that, though.
It doesn't mean she didn't get the right verdict. Because,
no.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't force him to be an asshole.
No.
He always had a choice whether or not he was going to sell her out. And he's made that choice over and over and over again to sell her out. But the letter was important. It was an important piece of the puzzle. And I think that no one could understand, like, okay, why didn't he sell the letter? Why hasn't he told anyone about the letter? Because up until that point, he was still lying about her. He was still saying that she had not been in contact with him at all.
Oh, so she was trying to set the record straight on that as well.
Yep.
Okay. And that's why he leaked the sections of the letter that were more favorable to him.
Yeah. And what was the other thing? Oh, and Finding Freedom?
Finding Freedom they didn't even talk about Finding Freedom at all.
Yeah, I think that she cooperated in some form.
Yeah, I'm sure she talked to Scobie, but
my irritation about both the People cover story and Finding Freedom is that it's not against the rules. It's not against the law to work with a friendly journalist. Ever.
She's trying so hard to be
she was just
perfect. Like she
was just
perfectionist.
PR. She was just doing PR. That's every like actress would have done the same. Like just get a little good information out there. That's all she was doing. And they treated her like, you know, she'd committed a federal crime because, you know, oh, she might have talked to Omid, or oh, she might have like authorized her friends to speak to People magazine. That's what she should have been doing. She was right to do it.
I agree. But, you know, she wanted to put a certain image out. And for the most part, she lives up to that. I mean, she really is above board with most of her stuff. So, yeah, she played a little fast and loose, but it was barely anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, the way they handled this docuseries was, I mean, they're such good people. They're genuinely good people who care. And like, I liked also what we heard, and we'll go move on to the comments of the week in a minute, but because I want to get going. But I liked what we heard about the Grenfell tragedy, and like she had worked with those women for weeks,
months.
Yeah, for a long time she was working with them, and they really admired her and said how much work she did on the ground, and they barely touched on all the other charity work that they've been doing.
Oh yeah, like they didn't even get into the British Vogue issue that she guest edited. And the Smart Set collection, and like all of the bullshit that came in 2019, attack after attack after attack over nothing.
They're just very good people, and they try hard to. I'm glad they found each other and they got out, you know, and they really tried hard to do it the right way, and they got screwed. And I hope that that's the narrative moving forward with everybody who's not a bullshit white woman Trumper, like the woman I met a couple weeks ago who was like trolling me in person about Meghan. I was like floored at that woman. But like those people are few and far between, and they're the ones who watch Fox News and are going to believe whatever they're told.
Well, what I liked about the last episode was that there was an air of finality to it. Like, you know, like this is our story, take it or leave it. But finally, we're telling our story, and now we're going to be okay with whatever comes next. I appreciate that because they do need to move on. And I'm not like, you know, screaming, oh, they need to shut up. They don't need to shut up. They can tell their story how many times they want to. But they need to also start saying, okay, we're looking forward. Here are all of our projects coming up.
Yeah, and they're doing that. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
they are doing that.
They just need to get the word out to the general public because there's still people who don't know.
Yeah.
Got my hair done this week, and my hairdresser said, you know, I used to like Kate, but I'm finding out she's not the person I thought she was. I was like, damn, okay. Good for you. You know, because she watched the Meghan and Harry docuseries, and this was before the second half came out. So she really, you know, sympathized with Meghan and saw her side of the story, and I think that's going to happen for more people.
And my mom was like that too with Kate. She was like, you know, she's a simple girl, but like she raises her kids and like whatever. And now my mom is like, wow, she's really a bitch, huh?
Yeah. And it's what they didn't say. Yeah. You know, Kate didn't support her. Kate, you know, it's what they didn't say. She's like, oh, well, they're not huggers. You know, like she really minced words and was careful. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week. So my comment of the week is on Hecate's post about Jennifer Coolidge saying that there's power in not giving a fuck as you get older. And I have a couple of comments on here. I just could relate and thought they were cute. And Lala117 said, once I turned 50, I was full on the zero fucks given train. And thank God, or I wouldn't have survived the last 5 years. And then Mcmmom said, I turned 51 last month and I love my 50s. Sure, there are aspects of aging that I don't love. I can't see for shit anymore and have readers scattered all around my house, my car, and my purses. But overall, I've gained more than I've lost. I could relate to that. The main thing that got me about getting older was not being able to see. And I've had to buy 1 million reading glasses and leave them all over too. But other than that, you know, I don't care. And I do feel more powerful. And
you can buy readers for like $5 at CVS.
I buy like the 5 for $12 at Amazon. And I do have a shit ton of them. I have them all in my house. Are you using them yet? Do you have readers yet?
No, I buy them for my mom.
Oh, okay.
I buy the the
Whatever.
4-pack for $10.
You don't know.
Well, I wear glasses most of the time, or contacts.
Oh, okay. I wear contacts with readers. That's where I am now. But one of them is like a bifocal contact, and then I have glasses that are trifocals.
Oh, and like to go back to Harry, I did not know that he wore reading glasses.
Oh, that was cute. Oh, I added pictures to that post of yours where you talked about them finding out that Beyonce texted her. I was like, I'm going to put those pictures in there. I took those screenshots, though.
They're real cute.
Yeah,
I mean, the frames don't really suit him. I wish he would get better frames for his reading glasses.
Well, maybe he has 10 pair like everybody else.
Yeah, he was cute with his little reading glasses on at the computer. I thought that was adorable.
He's a handsome man, yeah.
And my comment of the week is from the post about Omid Scobie's new book, which is called Endgame. And it's all about the British monarchy. So, like, it's late stage monarchy now.
Yes.
According to Omid Scobie. And how do you pronounce her name? Jace?
Jais? Jace.
Yeah, Jace said, it's funny because so many times a royal reporter will start talking about how the whole world stood still and grieved together at the Queen's death. And I'm like, my dude, they were literally singing Lizzie's in a Box. The whole world clearly does not have the same level of deference for the monarchy. Sure, a lot do, but the hyperbolic line that the whole world grieved is delusional. And the deference is really diminishing.
Yeah, it is. They're like, oh, she died, you know?
Well, I mean, a whole stadium full of football fans were singing Lizzie's in a Box.
Ooh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there was a video going around.
Mm.
There wasn't a lot of mourning in Ireland or in the Commonwealth countries or America.
No, I mean, there was some stuff up for her here in America, but I think a lot of it was because she was very, very old. Everyone knew what happened to Harry and Meghan, and we were like, how dare she hurt one of ours, you know? Not just her, but the monarchy in general. And
I think people like watch the funeral around the world because we like pageantry. And like that was beautiful pageantry. I enjoyed the funeral dirges, and
I enjoyed like the first quarter, maybe.
When it kept going at Windsor Castle, I was like, really?
Is this over? I was texting with Karen and Zakia, and we were like, how is this still happening? They were doing the parade, and the parade just kept going and going. All right. Well, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches. Insert funeral dirge.
Da, 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 da. I think that's royalty free. I could stick it in there.
No, isn't that like the Darth Vader theme?
Fuck yeah. The Darth Vader. Da, 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 da. Whatever. It sounds the same, right? That's not royalty free.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.